Have you ever been sitting in your office, working 9 to 5, thinking, wow, I wish I could be playing video games right now? Hi, I'm Bobby Mack, and I left my 9 to 5 job to pursue video game streaming full time. Here's how I did it. Number 1, don't go in it for the money. I know this sounds counterproductive, but at the end of the day, if you are searching for money and you're money grabbing, your community is going to sense that, and you're not really going to build loyal viewership. When I went into streaming, I never went into it with the idea that it was going to turn into my career. I truly started streaming as a hobby because I wanted to meet more people that liked the same type of indie games that I liked. I wanted to meet more people to play games with. I wanted to meet more women to play games with. Once I started streaming, because I was focusing so much on community engagement and playing games with people and building a community and making friends, it started to build from there. And that's when I started to think more strategically, like, oh, I might be able to make a job out of this. I might be able to turn this into my career. One thing I definitely suggest is to create a Discord server for your streams, just to let people know all updates on when you're going live, what kind of games you're playing, have community discussion channels. That way people can engage with each other. One thing that I take a lot of pride in is that people in my community have become friends with each other. They don't need me to be there. They play games with each other, they hop in VCs, and now they have lifelong friends to play games with all the time. And I think that is the coolest thing about what I do. Number 2, come here. You gotta be consistent. You gotta build a schedule. You gotta be consistent. I think, especially as somebody who is notoriously a flaky person, I struggled so much with building a very consistent schedule. I was canceling streams a lot. I was changing my times all the time. Sometimes I'd stream in the morning, sometimes I'd stream at night, sometimes I'd stream in the afternoon. Nobody ever knew when I was going live. And that was totally fine in the beginning when I was doing this as a hobby and it was really just for fun. But when I realized that this is actually something I really wanted to do as my job, I realized I had to build a consistent schedule. When I really started to see a change was when I changed my schedule to the same time going live every single day. I go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And ever since I changed my schedule to starting at that exact time, going live on the dot, I'm never late, people always will show up. And I think that's when I started to see that shift from people just hanging out for a hobby or people actually seeing it as like a form of entertainment that they don't want to miss. They know it starts at the same time every day. I'm always going to be there the same time every day, so they can always rely on, hey, at 1 o'clock at this day, I'm going to go watch Little Bobby Mack on Twitch. And that's kind of what they do. And it's really, really cool, but it took a lot of work for me to find that schedule, especially when I started streaming. I did have a full-time job, so it was really hard for me to create that schedule, which goes into my next point. Number 3, don't quit your job too early. I grinded working 4 jobs, 3 jobs, I guess, if you don't count streaming, for the first year of streaming. I had my typical 9 to 5 that I was working every single day. Sometimes I was even working on the weekends. I didn't have a minute to breathe, but I really wanted to make this work. So I worked my 9 to 5 at my full-time job and then my 5 to 9 working on streaming stuff, building my community, doing community engagement, offline stuff, figuring out consistent scheduling. And then from there, I was able to kind of do a shift where I was adjusting my workflow. I was fortunate enough that my old job, I was working from home, so it wasn't as big of a deal for me to like shift my schedules and stuff. I was very flexible, so I was fortunate in that sense. I know not everybody has that, but I did. So since I was working from home, I was doing social media management. It was really easy for me to jam pack a lot of my 9 to 5 work in the morning, take a break in the afternoon to do my stream, and then jam pack the rest of my work after my stream. I was working like a dog, but it made me really happy. And it was exhausting, but eventually I got to the point where I was seeing the actual benefits come in. I was gaining new followers, I was gaining new subscriber bases, I was making a lot more money off of Twitch, and then I opened my merch shop. And that was something that helped so much with that additional income. And once I started seeing the match between what I was making on Twitch versus what I was making from my 9 to 5, and they were the exact same, that's when I quit my job. When I quit my 9 to 5, that's when things really started to get going, because I was able to dedicate 100% of my time into content creation, into streaming, into my schedule, into my community, and then my income doubled. Now I'm at the point where I can pay my bills. I could do everything that I was doing before with my 9 to 5 job, but now I'm doing something like streaming video games for a living, and it is super fun and it is super cool, and nobody understands it, and you're probably thinking that is not a real job, but I'm doing something I love, I'm monetizing it, and therefore it's my job, and it makes me really happy, and I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. The one thing about streaming is that it can be a very lonely career path. It's not something that people understand. You're gonna continuously be explaining to people what it is that you do. They're not gonna take you seriously sometimes, especially older people. They just don't understand it, and that's fine. But if it makes you happy and it's sustainable for you, go for it. There's no reason you shouldn't be doing it. It's a difficult career path. It's hard, it's long hours, it's grindy, but it's not impossible, and it's super worth it. It's one of the best decisions that I've ever made, and I don't regret it at all. If you're interested in seeing more of my content, you can see me on twitch.tv/littlebobbymac, which is my primary platform. I'm also on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the platforms. And I hope to see you there. Bye.